Hi everyone, you're watching the virtual amicus and I'm Jay Lodha. So today's topic for discussion would be on improving efficiency and reducing pendency in courts through business management practices. And today this segment is tailor-made for the speaker who's joining us today from United States of America. Yeah, that's right. This is our second ever cross-border recording and that too from USA. And just to give you all a brief introduction about our topic, it is very important to understand that India is a country with massive case backlogs, millions and millions of cases that are pending before trial courts, sessions court, high courts, and the Honorable Supreme Court of India. Now, the question here is how important is technology and can it help deliver swifter justice in India? Now, technology should help not only in assisting the state of speedy disposal of cases, but also helping the common man to access justice. Now, can it help the common man in doing so? Can it help in the speedy justice or disposal of cases and helping the common man to get access to that? Now, we all are aware that there are so many platforms that have been built. There are so many forums wherein we are just a click away of filing of complaint, be it consumer complaint, being lodging an FIR. Earlier, we used to do that with booking movie tickets or booking our airline tickets. Now we can even file a legal complaint. So there is a digital manner of registering complaints and creating accountability was always the need of the hour. Now, former Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra, had once said at one of the national conferences on initiatives to reduce pendency and delays in the judicial system that technology can surely do wonders if used wisely as well as appropriately. Now, he also spoke about the immense pendency that was there in courts and the measures that are required to tackle it. And specifically, he highlighted the need of effective case management. So, what he said was technology can surely do wonders if used wisely as well as appropriately. Now, to elaborate further, we are joined by Mr. Abhimanyu Singh Yadav, and just to give you all a brief introduction about our amicus for today's session. He's indeed special for the virtual amicus because for the first time we have a lawyer who is pursuing now Masters of Business Administration in Operations and Analytics Strategy. That's right. He's doing that from Vanderbilt University, Owen School of Graduate Management, currently at Nashville. And prior to that, he pursued his law from National Law University, Delhi. And thank you so much, Mr. Abhimanyu Yadav. You took out time. So sorry that we spoiled your weekend. You could have done better things, more productive things on a weekend than to be hosting, coming out and giving a talk on a very important topic, on a very important issue. So anything that you wish to say before we start with our segment? Over.
Yeah. So hi Jay, thank you for having me over here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talk about the topic we were discussing about and how important it is, and how I'll go into more details further on. But yeah, just essentially how badly the court system is managed and how we can import business practices that how private companies work and businesses work. They're all about like improving efficiencies and decreasing wastage and increasing productivity. So yeah, it's very important that these things happen. Otherwise, as it is, there was so much pendency, and since COVID is just skyrocketing. So if we can do something about it, that'll be great. And so yeah, thank you for having me, and let's go ahead with the talk.
Our pleasure, Mr. Yadav. So the stage is set. The floor is all yours. Over to you.
Yeah. So as you know, I previously pursued law, and I also did practice in the court for a few years. And apart from that, I've also done some teaching. And after that, since coming here, I've learned a lot about things that I didn't previously know about, because we come from a very different background. Law is a completely different concept as opposed to business management. And I hope there were certain commonalities as far as teaching goes, learning goes, but there isn't. And so it's important that lawyers know at least about some business practices, and because that can go on to help the courts in managing the system better. So again, going back to the same thing, as far as the court system goes, It's basically managed by a combination of two kinds of people. First is the judiciary itself, and then the second is the administrative staff, which are basically made up of government employees, which I'm guessing they never have. Most likely they don't have an MBA or even a BBA, and so they don't know much about business administration. They just cleared an exam and have come here, and they're basically learning on the job as they go. And so and so as we can see, none of these people have much of business experience, and which is okay. There's nothing bad about it, but it's just that given how companies work and how they're constantly looking to improve efficiency and reduce wastage, if we can somehow import some of those practices into the legal system, it can do wonders. Because, for example, I was in litigation for about 4 years. I didn't see much change in the system. Yes, one important change that I saw was in the online portal. I think towards 2017 or 18, they introduced a new online portal which made things slightly more effective. But apart from that, there wasn't much change. And so let me just talk about how, for example, private companies uh, look to increase efficiency or like reduce wastage by constant learning. And especially these days, they're employing AI and machine learning to do that. And so, for example, let's take any of the tech companies, Google or Facebook or something. They constantly collect data from the usage of users, and then they constantly make improvements on the basis of what the data they've collected, and they constantly study that data, not just by humans, but there are also machines learning through that data and getting better. And so if suppose if we could employ the same system uh, within the court system, within the legal system, as to we are making constant improvements as to uh, what efficiencies we can use, or how we can basically study the past year's data, the past years, say, for example, just studying what's the average time of per case, or what's the variability in the cases. For example, some cases take say 5 minutes, or on the other hand, some cases take 1 minute, or some cases might take 20 to 30 minutes, and some cases do go on for hours, even, as we know. And so if we could study that and then divide the roster accordingly, so it would essentially result in an increase in efficiency and reduce a lot of wastage. So yes, constantly studying previous data. And also, if the administrative staff could be sent, say, on uh, a constant review system, or maybe they could be enrolled in online or even offline, in person, best practices conferences or short courses, it would it might seem like a cost burden in the short run, but in the long run it might increase the efficiency of the legal system, and might, in the long run, it'll be very beneficial. So yeah, any that's all what I wanted to talk about. But if we can open to further questions. Yeah.
I have one. So, are there any courts in any part of the country that has done it so far, or do you think that will be a one of its kind step that the state of Rajasthan would undertake, or is it only private companies that can offer such services? How would you recommend? How does one take the first step? How does that first step be?
So I am not sure if any legal systems or courts throughout the world employ such systems. But for example, if you take law firms, if you take the small law firms, they, as far as administrative staff goes, I think at the most they have like a couple of office boys and a couple of receptionists. But if you talk about the very big law firms, the top law firms, they have a separate management staff, which runs pretty much like the administrative or the management staff of any other private company. And so what they do is they might have an HR department also, they might have an operations department also, and they basically do the same things that I was talking about, study the previous data, and then divide the work accordingly in order to reach maximum efficiency, basically, so that there is no time wastage. And so it's not like the legal system is not familiar with the management practices at all. Many of the top law firms are doing that. And so if they can do that, I'm pretty sure that even in the legal system, the court system, the same thing can happen. I think it's only a matter of I think cost, as far as this thing goes, because yes, any government body will have a limited amount of what's that called, money or budget. And so that's one of the reasons that they are not able to give their employees such training. And on the other hand, uh, it's just this whole system of that cracking the government exam and you're just set to go. But what about the fact that whether they are actually qualified for the job or not, or whether they fit into the culture or not, whether they're actually going to like the job or not? If you keep an administrative person in the job, especially in the court system, it's better to employ someone who's actually going to enjoy that job, as opposed to just someone who cracked this particular exam. And so again, these are certain things that are pretty much embedded in the system, and so it might be hard to change. But what we can do is, like I said, just probably send these people to short courses to learn about new systems, or maybe perhaps have some cross partnerships with some private companies which are especially known for efficiencies. And so just to give an example, Amazon is always looking to improve efficiency. I mean, we know how we can, or especially if you're a member of Amazon Prime, if you order something today, there's a good chance that the same thing can be delivered tomorrow. And so just imagine what the reason of that is. They're just trying to make constant improvements in efficiency. And so suppose if someone from the administrative staff of the court was sent on a short study of the Amazon system, on the surface they might not look anything similar, but there are certain concepts in, say for example, one of my concentrations is operations. And so there are certain concepts that are pretty similar as far as any industry goes. And so even if two industries might look very different on the surface, there might be some cross connections, and you can basically employ one system. You can basically learn certain concepts from one system and apply them to the other, and that can essentially help in improvement of say the court system in this case. So there. Yeah.
Well, I think having said that, I think the mindsets are also need to change for that to accommodate, because we are generally resistant to change. We are so used to such practices, because here we are talking about integration of import of business management practices with the justice delivery system that we have as of today. So a lot of change has to be there in the mindset, which will definitely take time. But definitely, if the state employs people who are qualified to do so, maybe we can see that change happening. Uh, how do these private companies assist or work? Is it done by way of who demarcates these responsibilities? Is it the management that has to undergo this change, or is it merely on the basis of a contract? Is it contractual basis that this happens? That, let's say, the high court staff, how does one collaborate with these private companies?
Honestly, I can't say much on
Yeah.
what the collaboration procedure would be. But say for example, you were just talking about like how do these companies do that? I mean, like I said, most of this is done by studying previous data. And again, talking about, it might require a lot of changes. So I'm so in this case particularly, I'm not asking, or I'm not saying to completely change the legal system. It's just that we can make incremental changes in the system we already have, and those incremental changes will be small, that is one at a time. and so they would not be too difficult to apply or adapt. And so, I mean, if we completely change the system in just one day, there will be a lot of difficulty, and everyone would pretty much oppose it. And what we were trying to achieve might not even result in we might not even have the results because people are so displeased. So I mean, we should not be changing the system just in one go, but just studying previous data and just tweaking small things can also make huge changes. So just for example, so right now, this is just an example. So as far as the roster goes, and so the roster is pretty much divided by the chief justice just on the basis of what he thinks fit. And there I'm pretty sure some sort of analysis does go into it, but I highly doubt he does a huge statistical analysis, like making an Excel sheet and then taking out averages and whatnot. I'm pretty sure he does not do that. And so, say, suppose we could just run a simple, we could just make a simple Excel sheet and run some average functions and just tweak some things a little bit. Like, for example, what particular judge has the lowest average time, or what particular judge is better in certain cases. And so if we could just do these simple things and tweak things here and there, we could, I mean, it just, if we can increase the efficiency even by 15 to 20% at one go, I mean, that'll be a huge change. And that is essentially required, because I mean, I think we have one of the slowest legal systems, and there is just a huge backlog. And as far as the laws go, they're very good on the paper. I think from my experience, I can say that as far as on paper stuff goes, I think India has the best laws, the most comprehensive constitution. Yet there is, obviously, we can all feel that there is something wrong in the implementation of the laws that we can certainly improve.
There is one more thing that we need to understand, that on an average, a service matter takes lesser time as compared to a land acquisition matter or a miscellaneous matter. So keeping that in mind, the analysis has to be done accordingly. And number two, I think we need to collect that empirical data. We need to have something that is, well researched and well equipped for the purposes of starting this. We need to collect enough data in our support of the claim that we wish to make, to carry this forward or probably to implement. Because the first question that will be posed, if we at all we try to bring in this change, would be that who else has done it? In which part of the country has this taken place? Has this taken place by any of the courts, suo moto, or the state governments, or in any part of the world for that matter? So we need to collect enough data. We need to carry out our own research for that. And I think it will definitely help in terms of not just reducing the pendency, but also improving the efficiency, as you rightly pointed out. So I sincerely hope that someone like you who finishes his MBA would move back and bring about this change, because this is the need of the hour. We can't wait for the strength to be 100% in courts, because that never will be the case. In my 7 years of practice, I've never seen that we have 100% occupancy when it comes to the number of judges. There will always be retirements that are happening, superannuations that are taking place. So why can't we use technology?
Exactly.
To
And I mean, it's not some kind of rocket science. It's just simply just looking at what has previously happened and then just making some tweaks and changes, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not, so it's, and the data is already there, because you might even not have to go somewhere else to find that data, because cases are being filed every day, cases are being decided every day. So that data is already there. It's just that someone needs to just structurally make a structure to collect that data, and then someone needs to simply just analyze that data. And I mean, data analysis is pretty much one of the most sought after employments these days. So I mean, there is no dearth of data analysts, and it's not even something too complicated anymore. So I mean, it's just some simple things that we can just look at the previous data, the data that is already there. It's not even like you have to go somewhere else to find it. So just simple things like this can make so many changes.
So it is the statistical analysis that needs to be carried out. Someone who's doing analysis on that data, how a particular judge fared in a particular roster, what was the time frame that was required to be used, how long did he take. Depending on all of these factors, the analysis has to be done, and we need to come out with that data in front of us to query it forward. So amazing and valuable insights there coming in from Mr. Abhimanyu Yadav, who joins us from United States of America. Thank you so much, Mr. Yadav, for your valuable insights. I'm sure this will immensely benefit all the viewers who are watching this, law students, lawyers, anybody for that matter, anybody who's even remotely related to the legal fraternity, because these inputs will go a long way, and hopefully they will be materialized, implemented, executed. And obviously all this cannot happen without your help, support, and guidance. So thank you so much, Mr. Yadav, once again. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay tuned. Next episode is on its way. Please stay home. Please stay indoors. COVID is still around. It's goodbye for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.